Hey everyone, welcome back to Miniature Painting 101, a series of videos where we teach you all about painting miniatures from start to finish and everything in between. And as for by you, this is part 113, Red Orc Skin. How to paint red orc skin as opposed to green, which is the standard, or blue from last week. I will be painting this orc knob once again. I like to prime black for my orc skin and paint over it. That way the shadowing is pretty dark. And the key is just do two nice thin coats of the primary color that you're doing over it, and that's the key. Just set a foundation for your skin. So today, of course, we'll be using a Midtone Red from the Citadel range, and I'll be applying two nice thin coats to the miniature. I'm only going to show the first one because the second one's just touching up spots that needed it. I thinned it down slightly with some Lamium Medium and just applied a nice solid coat of Midtone Red over the skin. And these are for those people who don't want the standard orc skin of green. Some people like blue and some people like red. So after last week's video, somebody asked me, well, how would I do red? And this is exactly how I would do it. So of course, as you can see, I'm just taking my time to get a nice solid coat. It is a thin down paint, and the reason why you want to do thin down paints in this process is because there's a lot of really nice detail in the musculature and the face of this model, and you want to keep that. So applying a nice thin paint once or twice will really save those details, as opposed to applying a very clumpy coat, which GW tends to be on the thicker side as far as acrylic paints go for miniatures. They could actually end up ruining some of the details. So you want to keep those details because that's how you give the model a lot of character, is through the keeping of these nice details in their muscles and their face. So once that was completely dry, I applied a second coat, and after the second coat was completely done, I then went over it with Evil Sunz Scarlet. I wanted to go to a mid-tone before doing a shade. That way the shade wasn't too extreme. If you apply Caribou Crimson over the Midtone Red, you'll end up getting almost a black, and I didn't want it to be that. I wanted it to be a very dark red, but not a black. And even over this Evil Sunz Scarlet, you'll notice that it's still very dark in the recesses. So a way to prevent this is go to the mid-tone first, then shade over the mid-tone like I do for my normal skin tones for human flesh, and then highlight up from there. So as you see, I'm just doing a overcoat of Evil Sunz Scarlet, focusing on all the areas that are hit by my light source. So all the areas in the deep recesses, I'll just keep the Midtone Red, and I don't have to highlight that up with Evil Sunz Scarlet. When that was completely done and dry once again, I then hit the model with a Caribou Crimson shade directly from the pot onto the model. And that way it'll get in the recesses and give all this detail to the recesses and the musculature and the face, as I said. And as you see, after this one step, it'll really bring the details to life. And they won't be too extreme of darkness, though as you're going to see, it's going to be almost a black as well, but not as dark as if you went over the Midtone Red. So basically, the Midtone Red acted as the foundation, and then you go up with Caribou Crimson, highlighting up anywhere that's hit by your light source, and then shade it all with Caribou Crimson. And the key is always with these shades is let them completely dry before proceeding to the highlight up. So as you see now, it's completely dry, and then we're going to go back with Evil Sunz Scarlet, the mid-tone, and we're basically just going to do an overbrush, focusing on all the raised areas, leaving the recesses, and on the very edges, the Caribou Crimson shading. And the best part is about going straight back to Evil Sunz Scarlet is that the recesses and the raised areas will not be too extreme of a difference, so it tends to blend quite nicely together, but you'll still keep those details in the crevices. So I'm going to highlight up the hands and the face, and then just the top of that, the hand holding the axe at the top. And for the face, I just focus on the raised surfaces once again. I basically just do a quick overbrush, and it'll pick up on the raised surfaces. As you see, it really brings the character out of this orc knob. And then finally, I did a 1-to-1 mix of Evil Sunz Scarlet and Wild Rider Red. Wild Rider Red is almost an orange, so if you went with straight Wild Rider Red, you'd have to pretty much hit it then with a bloodletter glaze to bring it back to the reds. But I find a 1-to-1 mix of Evil Sunz Scarlet and Wild Rider Red actually does a great job. It's not too bright of an orangey red. It's actually just a good highlight color. So I'll use this on just certain areas that my light source is hitting. So basically just looking at it from the top and seeing where I should highlight up. So the very one part of the knuckles and on both hands, and then I focus on the face. Basically, that's where you can really bring the knob to life. So his jawline, his lips, and just the top of just the very raised surface of his face, his cheeks and chin. Doesn't take a lot of paint. Of course, I did thin down all my paints today in this video with Lamian Medium. That way they're nice and thin and they blend together quite nicely when drying. So you see, just bringing out the details. This is as you can see, it's almost an orangey red by itself, and I did a 1-1 mix, so I would never recommend going straight to wild red unless you want to hit it with a blood letter glaze afterwards. Bring it back down on reds, otherwise it's going to appear almost an orange. And just bring up the very raised surfaces of the muscles, trying to exaggerate them slightly. And that's it. And here's what the model looks like when it's completely done. As you can see, it's nice, and the reds blend together quite nicely, but you can clearly see the detail in the muscles and of the face. And he's a really, really cool looking orc knob now who's red, and he's didn't take very long, of course, to skin, but that's how I would recommend painting orc flesh, is red instead of green.
So as always, thank you so much for watching this episode of Miniature Painting 101, and stay tuned for next week's episode, which is just around the corner. But if you want to wait for next week, check out The Warp. Click on the link below for a free 14-day trial to my premium YouTube channel. We're not going to get to see the next 6 months worth of Miniature Painting 101 episodes before anyone else. You get to see over 100 start-to-finish painting tutorials, dozens of battle reports and face-off episodes, an Airbrush 101 series, a Q&J series, just some awesome wargaming content that helps support me. So thank you so much for checking out this episode. Until next time, this is Jay saying, happy painting, everyone.